With the imminent release of Gears of War Reloaded, David, I wanted to talk to you about the Gears of War series as a whole, and I wanted to explore where the series peaked, kind of like a Halo video. So I believe out of the two of us, you've probably played more Gears of War. So I would say that I mainly played the original trilogy, then I played Gears of War Judgment, and I've also played Gears of War, Gears of War 4. I haven't played the new one, and isn't there like a Gears Tactics or something like that?
Yeah. It says RTS, real time.
An RTS, yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, really following the footsteps of Halo, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So I guess I just wanted to pick your brains because I think that this is probably one of the more consistent series with how like the gameplay feels, and it's always whenever a Gears of War game comes out, it always seems to push the boundaries visually of what a game on whatever the current gen console can handle. Like I remember Gears of War 3, it blew my balls off. I was just like, holy shit, this looks incredible. And it's of course pioneered the horde mode that has been replicated so many times in other games. So I just wanted to ask you, how many of the games have you played, and where do you think that the series peaked?
Yeah, that's a really great question. You know, obviously where you were going for, obviously that spiel about Gears of War. Let's not forget that without Gears of War, there would not be a Fortnite. I just want you all to remember that. That Epic Games Store would not be around without Gears of War. Gears of War obviously was developed by Epic Games back in 2006. So for me, I played Gears 1, Gears 2, Gears 3, Gears Judgment 4 and 5. I haven't played Tactics. That's because I'm not really into the RTS space.
Yeah. Well, we won't count that in this conversation.
It's not a real game. It's not a real game.
It's not Age of Empires, so I don't care. So you've basically played all of them.
Yeah.
I guess my question for you, I know I asked you to basically just dive straight into where the series peaked, but I'm actually curious, as someone who's played all of them, is there, in your opinion, a noticeable divide between, Gears 1, 2, 3 and Judgment and Gears 4 and 5? Kind of like how with Halo, there was the Bungie era, then the 343 era, and they felt quite distinctively different. Do you think that's the same with Gears?
Yes and no. To me, the original trilogy it's like the gold standard. I loved playing that story as Marcus Fenix. And when Gears 4 got announced, I was the first one to make sure I pre-ordered the Xbox One Series S Gears of War edition, because it was such a cool looking console, and I waited very late to download that game and play Gears 4, and I loved Gears 4. I thought Gears 4 was such a refreshing take on the story, especially, you're not playing as Marcus anymore. It's been
playing as the son, aren't you?
JD. It's been like 20 or 30 years since the war's been done, and obviously we've got this newfound enemy called a variant of the Locust. I forgot their name. The Swarm, I think they're called. The Swarm.
Okay, yeah.
So, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the story, the new characters, especially that twist at the end of Gears 4. And then I played Gears 5 as well, and Gears 5, it's kind of really interesting. A lot of people love the story. A lot of people didn't connect with the story. I liked the story. I thought it was refreshing the risks they took for Gears 5, making it more of like an open world sandbox kind of story. But to me, I kind of feel like they kind of shot themselves in the foot with the ending of Gears 5, especially because where do we go from here?
Right.
It's because it kind of just felt like it just ended on a cliffhanger, and I'm like, okay, that was that game. And to be honest, if you would have asked me what the campaign of Gears 5 story was, I couldn't tell you. It wasn't that much of
really
it wasn't that much of a memorable
story.
Really
forgettable, I should say. Sorry.
Yeah, to me, it wasn't that memorable of a story compared to like Gears 1, Gears 2, Gears 3, and Gears 4. And I thought it's an interesting way because, like I said, where did they go from here? Because now, obviously, with this announcement of Gears of War Emergence Day, I'm so excited for that. I'm so excited to leave the Swarm behind and go back to like the Locust Horde.
Back to the Locust. But that has me wondering though, like how many more stories can be told in this universe around that same era? Do you think that with Gears of War E-Day, do you think that that's going to be most likely maybe one of the last times we revisit this universe, unless they completely reboot it?
I don't think so, because from Gears of War 1, from Emergence Day, which is known as E-Day, the gap is 14 years from what we see Marcus from Gears of War 1 to obviously we're going to be seeing him from E-Day. So I think they could literally tell multiple and different stories within those 14 years. And I think the Gears of War fans will love it, will eat it all up. So I don't think it's going to get rebooted because I think there's just so much lore that's within those 14 years that you can use, that you can make new games with essentially, or even introduce new characters.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I guess let's just get into it.
Yeah.
Where do you think the series peaked and why?
Really, really great question. I mean, Gears of War 1 was the game that started it all off. To me, that holds a special place in my heart. I remember picking up at my Xbox 360 and then on YouTube one day, just looking up this trailer, and it was the Mad World trailer. And I'm like, what is this game about that piqued my interest?
Such an iconic gaming trailer.
Such an iconic trailer. And then I saw gameplay
Nothing
of it,
like
and
the
it
game.
was nothing like the game. And it was really like like a manly game. You know, you had the Gears, which were these tough guys with massive guns, and
just
the game,
big dudes, bigger guns, and it's like
big dudes, bigger guns.
The feeling of like camaraderie and like it just, I think that these games capture that sense of feeling so well.
Yeah, and the atmosphere was like nothing I've seen before. It was like a dark, gritty. It was, it was just like a sad place to be in, especially during that time in their war. And the gameplay was nothing like I've ever seen before. I never saw a cover shooter like that before. And I think what sold it to me was when I saw the first time I saw a locust get chainsawed and just the blood spilling everywhere, and then just them just turning to bits. And graphically, the game looked beautiful back then on Unreal Engine 3. Then we obviously moved to Gears 2, and Gears 2 was on a bigger and badder scale. Introduced the Horde mode and obviously expand the campaign. But to me, obviously for your question, where I think it peaked, to me it was Gears 3. I think Gears 3 is where the series, for me personally, peaked because it was a climax. Obviously we saw the multiplayer was just peak multiplayer. Like, it was top notch, perfectly balanced. It was just so fun to play. The Horde mode was at peak as well, with obviously a Horde 3.0 with new mechanics and to obviously survive the waves. And the emotional climax of the story of all coming to the end, especially with a death of a very prominent character in the series. If you know, if you haven't, if you don't know, please go.
It's a 14-year-old game. And you're watching a video on Gears of War where I'm assuming people know.
It was Dom's death, and to be honest, that hit me hard. I never expected that death to hit me as hard as it did, especially with the rendition of Mad World playing when obviously he dies. But yeah, Gears of War 3 for me of the original trilogy was where the game truly peaked.
Yeah, well, I think that, like you said, it was like the culmination of the previous two games. I feel like maybe Gears of War 2 would be one of the more nostalgic titles, just because I think that's when everyone really got onto it.
You see, for me, it's Gears 1. When you say it like that, when you go nostalgia title, for me, that's Gears 1.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. Like say for example, for me, I got into I think Gears of War 1, that was one of the earliest or earlier Xbox 360 titles, right?
Yeah.
I think that a lot more people had access to an Xbox 360 a little bit later, so around 2008, 2009, and I think a lot of people got into the Gears of War series at Gears of War 2. I think that was an entry point for a lot more people, maybe. And I think that by the time that we reached Gears of War 3, it had reached its peak and the largest, the audience fervor for that series. I think that people were really fond of it. And it was just one of those games where it really just delivered. It refined the Horde mode. Graphically, I didn't think that it could look that much better than it did in Gears of War 2, but at the time, of course. But man, it's just such a gorgeous game. And
it is.
I think the story was great. I think that the customization and the fact that you can play as so many different people in Horde mode now as well, I think, or multiplayer. I remember actually playing a little bit of multiplayer in Gears of War 3, and that was like one of the only games that I actually played proper true multiplayer, and it was just so much fun, dude. And I think that it takes you to some really great set pieces, and I just think the story is just really tight, and it just feels like a super refined version. It's kind of like going back to our Assassin's Creed conversation, because I think Assassin's Creed 2 is leaps and bounds above Assassin's Creed 1, but even though at the time a lot of people felt like Assassin's Creed Brotherhood was just Assassin's Creed 2.5, it's still an improvement and a refinement. And for me, that Ezio era, or for Gears of War in this discussion, Gears of War 3, it just represents the summit, or the peak, I guess, of this series. And the game that immediately came out after it. So I was so into Gears of War at this point, and I loved Gears of War 3, and then Gears Judgment came out, and I was just like, oh, fuck yeah, this is going to be sick. And then it
didn't hit right.
Oh, it just didn't feel the same. Like, it was like I was playing the same. It's honestly, not to bring up Borderlands, but it's kind of like the difference between Borderlands 2 and Borderlands the pre-sequel. It's like you can tell that it's kind of made, I don't even know if it is, but it just feels like it's made from a different studio.
Yeah.
And it's just not quite,
People
it's not
that
quite
can
the
fly,
same.
I think they made that. People Can Fly, I think made that.
Oh, right. Okay.
Gears of
Well,
War.
there you go. And yeah, it just felt slightly different, and
Yeah.
it just felt like it was missing a little something. And then that's when I was a bit like, okay. Gears of War 4 came out. I remember playing it as soon as it came out, played through the campaign, but fuck, how long ago was that now? Like, was that like 2015, 2016 or something like that? Like, it feels like it's been a while, but
yeah, it came out around when I think it was 2016.
Right. Well, either way, when it came out, I played through it, but I cannot tell you a single thing that happens. I just remember a lot of the promotional material for it, and I can't put my finger on why, but it's just the Xbox One generation and just moving on to the next generation. It just didn't quite capture me the same. It just didn't feel the same. It felt like it was trying to tell maybe a modernized, or just like, here's the Gears of War gameplay mechanics, but with a different cast of characters that feel maybe a little bit more relatable or a little bit more relevant to today's storytelling than, like 5-10 years ago. And it just didn't quite feel, kind of like what you said about Gears 5, just didn't quite feel as memorable. And because of that experience, I just kind of didn't give a shit anymore about Gears 5. And I think this series is also doing something. There's so many parallels with this series and Halo, but
it really is like you could compare it to the Halo series, honestly.
Yeah,
the way the games, because like Gears 4 was when the Coalition, that's what they're called now, the Coalition were the first ones to release the first time to release Gears 4 was their first time of Gears, and I was made up of obviously former Epic game developers making the Coalition to keep Gears 4 going, and then which you can be like, oh yeah, no, that was its equivalent to Halo 4. And then Gears 5 came out, which obviously was very not memorable, which is the same as, for Halo 5 Guardians.
Yeah, but I mean, even just the cadence in which these games are coming out, it's just the longer in between these games, it's almost like there's a sweet spot. Because when you were talking about Call of Duty before, I definitely think that there's just a fatigue with Call of Duty where it's because there's seemingly one every year, and you can't just keep releasing all these games or a 7th installment of a game and expect it to have the same kind of excitement and return on investment than, say, the first or second one.
Exactly.
But the other argument on the complete opposite end is that if you leave it too long in between games, like let's just say Halo Reach to Halo 4, that was 2 years. And then between Halo 4, Halo 5 was 3 years. And then Halo 5 and Halo Infinite, I think, was 6 years. And it's just like, with that long of a dev cycle, people just kind of lose interest after a while. Like, you're going to have long-term fans, but you got to kind of keep cranking them out, or people are just, the general public, I think, are just going to start to look at this as like, oh yeah, this is the thing I played back in the day, but I haven't played it for a good chunk of my life, and now I've moved on. And I almost feel like that's kind of what's happened with this newer, Gears 4, Gears 5, and maybe to me that's why they don't feel as memorable in general. And maybe that's why Microsoft is going down this route of doing a re-release or a remake of Gears 1 and going back to Dom and Marcus with Gears E-Day.
Yeah.
So
I'm really excited for E-Day, by the way. I remember seeing that trailer and like literally I jumped out of my chair. I was like, yes! Yeah. Yes!
When's that one due to come out?
Was there a release
Is it next year?
Pretty sure E-Day had a release date of next year. I mean, from between Gears 5 came out in 2020, which is insane to think about.
Damn.
It's been over
I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was earlier than that. I thought it was like maybe like 2018, 2019 or something.
2026, so I'm super excited.
Well, at least Gears of War Reloaded will keep you tied over, and I'm assuming that is going to be a game that you're going to talk about next week in our world famous section.
What games have you
we've been
played this
playing.
week? Dude, I can't wait to jump into multiplayer day one and verse against a bunch of first-time PS5 players in Gears of War multiplayer and just really introduce them to the massive skill gap you're going to have to play a multiplayer. Oh my god.
They're going to have to get good, and
Yeah,
they're going to have to get good and get good quick.
Oh, I have a shotgun and now I'm in pieces.
But I'm happy to leave it there. I'm pretty confident in saying that Gears 3 is the peak.
Gears 3 is the
series.
peak.
That's where it peaked.
Yeah, that's where it peaked for me as well.
Hey, would you look at that? You've made it through the entirety of this episode. Congratulations. This video is just one section of our weekly gaming podcast called Last Week in Gaming Today. If you're interested in checking out the full episode or more discussions like the one you've just watched, I'll leave a link to the podcast in the description and comment section below.